People keep asking, will AI replace this? Will AI replace that? I think you're asking the wrong question. The question is, what can AI not replace? And I think Alex Ramosi just dropped some clues. So recently, he dropped some commentary on bets that he's going to make going into 2027 in terms of his content. He talked about demonstration, Netflix level production, more live content, and people heard tactics. I heard strategy. I thought to myself, well, what are the first principles that he's reasoning from, that he's using to make these decisions and pick these particular things? And here's some of the things that I came out with. Okay. So it isn't about making prettier videos. It's about building moats. It's about building competitive advantages and things that AI struggles to duplicate. And so ask yourself, what's factually true? Okay, so AI is making information cheaper every day. AI is going to be able to duplicate and automate talking head um, content like this. It's going to make any advice based reasoning. If the quality of your advice, the quantity of the videos that you put out, if those things used to be your advantages, you are going to be in a world of trouble. Educational content makes it cheaper. Knowledge is becoming more abundant, which means knowledge alone becomes less valuable. And so, what becomes more valuable? Proof. Show me. Don't tell me. It forces you to answer the one question that has always been posed. It's always been a reality of the game, and it's always been the differentiator between the top of the top and the rest, which is, why should I listen to you? If your teacher gave investing advice, it may be really good advice, you probably wouldn't take it. Because if you're so smart, why don't you have what you want? Warren Buffett could give that same piece of advice and you'll take it more seriously. Why? Because he has proof. Because the answer to the question, why should I listen to you, is because, oh, you're widely renowned as one of, if not the greatest investor of all time. Makes sense. I'll do I'll do what that guy said because he has the thing, because he can prove it, because he has proved very fantastic verse that says, prove your worth through your works, not your words. And so ultimately, that is the space that AI forces you into. Show me, don't tell me. Show me case studies, clients, behind the scenes, execution, real conversations, real business, real outcomes. Proof becomes the scarce asset. The interesting thing about this is it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to need to start with a big budget. You're going to need to start with a client list. You're going to need to start with whatever people have as their excuse for not starting today. Because already these things existed, it's just becoming intensified. Um, good is it? Um, what's this movie called? There's this fantastic movie. Guy sitting in the back seat. He used to be a hitman, retires, comes back around, um, sitting in the back seat, and he says, "Man, the game's changed so much." And one of the young cats who were in the car with him say, "The game hasn't changed. It's just become more fierce." And that's what I feel is happening now. Is the rules of engagement haven't necessarily changed. It's just that it's amplified. And so you're not necessarily going to have to come in with already having built everything up, already having the client list, already having this, already having that. The work that you do can be the proof that you provide. This the same way that that's been the truth before. Now, I am perhaps fortunate enough, or I've been fortunate enough to come up in a time where where AI was just about coming in, not video ready as of yet. It's just now coming into a part where the videos are becoming more and more believable. Yeah, it's still making the mistakes and this and that, and so you know the volume that you can produce as an organic human being is still worth a little something. It's worth a lot less than it used to be when I literally started out, which was not that long ago. It was only 2 years ago, right? Um, but it's worth a lot less now to just be a talking head giving information. Why? Because the information itself can, anyone can fake that with a quick chat GPT thing. Nowadays, people can even fake the quantity of videos or can create large quantities of videos using certain AI tools. They clip things, they reshare the same clip over and over. There are certain platforms that don't punish you for spamming. TikTok doesn't punish you for spamming, giving the same thing, just making slight tweaks and iterations, seeing what performs. And so, with things like AI out there, they're going to be able to produce at scale test at scale, get the results in real time, and you know it, that your ability to just mind-numbingly focus on doing a singular repetitive task is now having less and less value. It's losing value much faster than it ever has. And so the moat or the competitive advantage will still be that you are able to work, prove that you are doing the work, maybe document the journey, but it will be more so the things that you do on the field and your ability to capture those things, that it won't be as easy to duplicate and then tell stories of other things that you do in real life, incorporate that within the content. Like the it's the same game. It's just going to be a lot more fierce. And so it's good and it's bad. The positive thing is I have good news and bad news. The good news is let's start with the bad news. I have good news and bad news. The bad news is it's going to be more difficult to compete. It's going to be more difficult to work. It's going to be more difficult to go from have not to a have. The good news is, instead of thinking, oh, poor me, I have to do so much work if I want to build up my brand, my reputation, if I want to be who I want to be, oh, poor me, I have to work so hard. You can shift it and think to yourself, oh no, poor everyone else who's going to have to compete against me and navigate this thing at the same time, because I'm already a savage, I'm already an animal, and I'm very well prepared to kind of go into this war. And now people are not only going to have to try and wage war against me, but now the landscape itself is becoming a whole lot deadlier. And so it's going to be survival of the strongest. And much more importantly, it's not necessarily survival of the strongest, as Darwin so eloquently pointed out, is survival of the most adaptable. The strongest don't win, the most adaptable do. Sometimes the strongest in a certain climate are too rigidly of that climate, so that when the climate shifts, they are the first to die out. So the most adaptable survive, not the strongest. Um, he says Netflix level production. Most people hear, oh, we need expensive cameras, but that's not the lesson. The lesson is create content that AI cannot mass produce. And maybe that's a documentary, maybe it's a weekly series, maybe it's being specific in your messaging about your city, you know, the students that you've brought in, and you know, cohorted, done the will programs with, talking about things that are going on with your clients in real life. And those will resonate with real people in real life who are going through those issues, because they are real. They're genuine case studies based off of your true life, of the most live feedback. And that's why I believe, within the context of entrepreneurship, because that's the only lens that I see the world through nowadays, reading it is one thing. It's cute, it's adorable. Watching the videos, even watching my videos, adorable. Nothing will give you as robust feedback as going out there and doing it yourself, because you get to see live. You get feedback live from the people that you're trying to sell to, in terms of whether your thing is good or not, what there is to fix, etc. And you can theorize with me all you want. If I were, I don't do this. I don't do coaching, or you know, I don't. I have no interest. But if I were to do something like that, you could pay me all the money in the world, and I could tell you if I think your thing is a good idea or not. It doesn't matter what I think; it matters what your customer thinks. If there's one thing you can take from Jeff Bezos and throw anything and everything else, if you have anything against him, it's this: customer obsession. Be focused on your customer. Be obsessed about your customer, their experience, their thoughts, and one more thing: sell to the rich and they will make you one of them. And so make sure that that customer is very wealthy. Make sure that getting one of those customers is worth more than getting 20 lesser customers. I digress. Your moat is your uniqueness. Format matters less than uniqueness. You talked about live content, and people think that the value of that is going to be speaking off the cuff. I don't. AI can answer any question better than anyone else, because it can pull from any information source in the world. um, the value is knowing that it's real, knowing that it's coming from a real person, a real place, from reality. So leaning towards the things that make you uniquely you will make the people more like you, find you, and want to hear more from you. um, People being able to trust what they witness. not just what they consume. And I think the meta lesson is what you find within entrepreneurship as a whole. Again, I said that the it's just become more fierce. You need to ask yourself, what are my competitive advantages? What can I do? What feels like play to me but looks like work to others and feels like work to others? I've said not too long ago, you cannot beat a man who loves what they do. But the ultimate lesson that I'm trying to say is, if you're good at what you do it consistently enough, you will continue to become better at what you do, till eventually you become very difficult to compete against, because you're not only enjoying what you do on a daily basis, but are also extremely competent within it. And so when a competitor comes around and they're trying to force themselves to do what you just tend to do naturally, to produce the kind of thoughts you tend to produce naturally, the kind of insight you tend to produce naturally, whatever your natural inclinations are, if you lean towards those will be your separators, those will be your advantage over a long enough time horizon, if you apply yourself consistently enough. Now, this all that these different things are talking about is, how can I apply my uniqueness in ways that cannot be replicated by the things that we are currently facing right now. So implementing those things in a live format, implementing those things within uh, circumstances where you are demonstrating that competence amongst other people, putting yourself in those positions as often as possible, documenting it, packaging it properly, and then distributing it. That will be the differentiator. Ultimately, the demonstration of your competence is what will separate those of us from the rest. Doing it live, doing it within reality, is what will separate those of us from the rest. And the principle is, for years, being authentic was optional, and now it becomes mandatory because average is becoming automated. And that's not just within the content creation industry, that is becoming across all industries. It's becoming the fact that average is becoming automated, meaning if you were a run-of-the-mill coder, you don't have a job anymore. Lots of people were laid off, or lots of people are getting laid off on a regular basis because average is becoming automated. Meaning, if you were an exceptional coder, you just adopted the newest technology, which is, oh, okay, I can actually just direct these agents, let them know what I usually do on a regular basis, and they can just do that thing for me. And so I can ship the amount of code that it would usually take 100 people to ship by myself using these points of leverage. And so all that's increased is the points of leverage. And so ultimately, it's still man with tools versus man with tools. So it's still people competing against people. It's just a question of adaptability once more. And so long as it's us with tools versus other people with tools, the playing field is as fair and unfair as it's always been. As soon as it becomes man versus tool, then we're screwed. Until then, though, we still need to find these space, these pockets, these momentary windows of competitive advantage, and lean into those hard, because it won't always be the case that AI is not going to be able to duplicate these things as easily. It won't always be the case that AI is not going to be able to go live and produce very quickly, spitting images of reality. But it for the meantime can mimic reality. It will get better at mimicking reality, and the simpler your setup is, the simpler it will be to mimic. However, it cannot mimic the content itself, and it cannot exist within reality itself and manipulate the real world in the way that we can. And so that is a competitive advantage that we have currently, not just against our competitors, but against the machines themselves that our competitors are leveraging and we should be leveraging as well. Very important, before I get into this, I am not an anti-AI guy. I use AI all the time, premium subscriptions. I have entire teams. I have a team coming in from Tuesday that is going to absolutely revolutionize the way that we do things. I've been working with these guys for a while now, and they're going to continue to do the kind of stuff that they've been doing to help us move a whole lot faster. I personally, consider myself to be in the top 10% of prompters, like across the world, like seriously. And the guys that I'm working with, I really honestly, when it comes to their particular areas, make me feel like I don't know a thing. And so those are the type of people that you want to be working with on a consistent basis, and you want to combine forces with those types of people so that you gain more leverage over time. So I'm not saying that I'm not an anti AI guy. I'm not an anti tools guy. Hear me out. There are still people today that still use fax machines that make a lot of money. There are people today that are, super techie, super cutting edge that make no money. I'm not saying that one thing is inherently correct or incorrect. I'm saying that over a long enough time horizon, those who are able to adapt and use the tools as leverage are going to be the ones that outcompete the rest. And now the thing that we are competing against is people who are advancing the tools to give them more leverage to be able to compete with you and I when we, for example, create something like this or anything else that is education based or something of that like, that can be duplicated more easily by the individual themselves in combination with their new tools. And so the question becomes for us, how can we and our tools outcompete them and their tools? And it comes back to leaning on the things that make us different to begin with, leaning on our reality. Because the ultimate thing that you can take away from Hormozy as a marketer is state the facts and tell the truth. Really simply that. And if the truth isn't compelling enough, make it compelling. But all of those are factors of reality, and you're stating the factors of reality on a consistent basis through different ways, mediums, channels. Whether you're doing it through not necessarily high production, but in ways that cannot be duplicated easily. You are doing it through demonstration. You are doing it through coming through on a consistent basis and making sure that you are raw, authentic. You do the lives as well. Uh, all those things. The point of those things is not to do those specific things themselves, but the point of those things is lean towards your authenticity and deliver it in a way that cannot be duplicated easily. Information is becoming cheaper, proof is becoming more valuable. And the creators who win won't be the ones with the most knowledge, they'll be the ones with the strongest evidence, the same way that it's always been. And so don't build content to compete with AI. Build content that makes AI